Welcome to the Friends and Rivals podcast.
Hello, and thank you for joining us for the first ever Friends and Rivals podcast. I am one of your hosts, Tom Harkness. I will be covering the New York Rangers. I will be your Rangers expert, as they say. I don't know if anybody says that. Joining me are three other division rivals, and I'll allow them to introduce themselves.
I will go next. My name is Steve. Greetings and salutations. I will be covering the New Jersey Devils for the Friends and Rivals podcast.
And I'm Nick Larita. I'll be covering the Islanders for the same podcast, not some other one.
And I'm Bill, and I'm covering the Pittsburgh Penguins. Scratch my back with a hacksaw, and that's for the Friends and Rivals podcast.
That was stellar opening, boys. Absolutely
Way to go.
stellar.
We'd bring it home.
We're flying now.
So this is all gonna and Nick, can you slurp a little bit louder into the microphone?
I will
next
slurp
time,
as
please?
hard as I
Holy
can.
crap.
Let's talk Devils and Islanders, let's talk Penguins and Rangers, but let's not talk about Flyers, cause they're a bunch of fucks, which no one can deny, which no one can deny.
Don't try it till you had it. This is episode 100 of the Friends and Rivals podcast. I am one of your hosts, Tom Harkness. Joining me each week are
Stephen Wojtowicz.
Bill Fougere.
Number one Bo Horvat fan, Nick Larita.
all of a sudden, huge Bo Horvat fan.
Big time.
Listen, when we started during the COVID, I didn't ever think we'd get to 100 episodes,
I thought 10.
to be honest with you. 10? You thought 10?
You were conservative there.
But listen, we do this for our enjoyment, so we can get together and talk hockey since Nick and I moved away, and it's been nothing but fun ever since. We get to talk about our favorite teams and mock on each other a little bit, which always makes it fun. But for our 100th episode, we have been teasing a special guest for a couple of weeks now, and without further ado, from ESPN, NHL Tonight, The Point, and now a live play-by-play broadcaster, we welcome John BUCCIGROSS to the show.
BUCCIGROSS and me, watching all the highlights. Yeah, we stare at the beautiful hockey, perfect for the point. There's gotta be some left for us. I wanna be Bob Probert. BUCCIGROSS wishes he was someone a little more funky, but everybody loves him. Aw, son, that's just about as funky as you can be. BUCCIGROSS and me, we're gonna be big stars.
How you doing, sir?
Hello, boys. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming on. This is, as I mentioned before, this is certainly a treat for us to have.
Congratulations on hitting 100.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. So we're going
It's
to start
100
off.
more than I've done.
Oh, I think you've been on TV a little bit more than 100 times. I got to tell you.
Yeah.
We all have faces for radio. So we're going to start off with some general BUCCIGROSS questions. So
Sure.
if you could model your game after one player in the NHL, who do you think it would be?
Wow. Probably be a guy that can do a lot of things pretty good. Maybe nothing that great,
Okay.
but someone like an all-around type of player. Probably like a second or third line, maybe a winger or center iceman. Could be a number 3 D man. Let's see, who could that person be around the league? That Sebastian Aho's too good. I'm not that good.
Can I throw out a suggestion?
Sure, give it to me,
Dawson
Stevie.
Mercer. Would you be Dawson Mercer?
All right. I think I like that call because I was a kind of a nasty competitor. I'm still a pretty competitive guy, not as much as I used to be, thankfully. I was embarrassingly competitive when I was young. Now I take things in stride much better and just enjoy the ride. But yeah, I like that. That's the guy who went late in the first round. I think if they did a redraft, if they did a redraft that year, he'd go probably 8 to 10 as opposed to, I think he went 20, 21, something like that.
20, yeah.
Yeah.
Because
so
then
he'd probably go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably go 8 to 10 because I like him a lot. He's a guy. He's a winner. He's like an old school guy you saw like in the 80s and 90s all the time. Like every team had 9 of him, so he stands out. So yeah, I'll take that as a compliment.
All right.
Listen, TMZ is reporting that Sammy Blay just bagged Margot Robbie. You sure you want to choose Dawson Mercer over Sammy Blay?
That's impossible because I did. I thought I was the one.
Breaking news.
So of our 4 teams, who do you think has the best chance to win the cup first?
So these 4 teams again are the Devils, Rangers, Penguins, and
Islanders.
Islanders, yeah. I would say I would probably have to go the Rangers because of the goalie. You got to think Chris Drury's going to do something to try to make that forward group player, better. Panarin and Zibanejad, and Kreider's obviously a good top 6 pro. Adam Fox on the back end, and I still think they're a couple pieces away. You want to say the Devils if they could, if they had a Timo Meier. But then do they have a goaltender who could be good for 2 months? That's the thing about people don't understand goaltending. You don't win with good goaltending in the playoffs. You win with great goaltending. And, you look at a team like, Seattle, who doesn't have a goalie with a .900 winning percentage, and they might win the division. And the Kings were in first place the other day with a minus goal differential. It's like kind of weird. Because, that is the one thing. Now that we're in a high scoring era again, we're kind of like in early 90s territory in terms of goals per game. So maybe you don't need that number anymore. Maybe you can win with an average goaltender and stuff like that. So maybe we'll come down to a track meet, and certainly the Devils are the fastest team of the 4, the quickest team. And so, if the game trends that way, like you said, they can add a Timo Meier, suddenly they have a good top 9 that teams are going to have to worry about. But again, do they have the goalie or goalies? You can go back and forth. We'll probably start to see that again more with this seems to be a lack of depth in the league. So yeah, and I'm worried about the Penguins. Obviously, they seem a little stale, lacking depth. And the Islanders, we'll see what Bo Horvat does. They are strong up the middle for sure, and they have a great goaltender. I mean, he's right there with Shesterkin. So it's going to be interesting to see what Bo Horvat does. Yeah, do they put Barzal on the wing? I think he actually is a winger. Like a setup winger, Patrick Kane kind of guy, pass first, but can shoot. So it's going to be interesting to see what Lane Lambert does. I'm sure he's very excited to get a guy who can score goals and they don't have to lean on, Brock Nelson all the time to get them 30, 35.
Well, you heard it here. Rangers are going to win the cup. John BUCCIGROSS.
This breaks my heart, John, just because Tom and I are both golfers, and we have a bet going on. The guy who wins the cup, his team wins the cup first. The other guy's got to not only caddy for him, he's got to actually tee up every shot for him as well. So
I like that.
I'm hoping
too high, that's too low, that's too high, that's too low.
Oh yeah. Oh, he's going to be so picky too. He was so picky.
Listen,
Tom pretty well.
I lost a bet back in the day. It was about about Jágr and somebody getting 100 points.
Jágr and Michael Ryder.
Yeah,
combining for 100 points,
and they got 101 points that year.
On the final game of the season, they broke the 100 mark.
I had a Moa's lawn and a Devil's jersey. It was very depressing.
How would you like to mow my lawn?
Exactly. Precisely. So, well, listen, we've gone on record with some ideas that we think would make the game better. Maybe blue line in, red line out, larger nets, 3-on-3, 10-minute or sudden death, overtime. What are some of your ideas to improve the game?
Yeah, I was, 20 years ago when I was writing my ESPN.com column, I definitely was a bigger net guy, by an inch or two, just as the scoring was just so depressing. And we were in such an era that we thought maybe the goalies were going to be too good. And obviously there was a stack of goalies with Hasek, Waugh, Brodeur, down the line. And we don't seem to have that as much right now. But so I was back in the day, I was thinking that was something they should look at, that offense sells. But as it turns out, the offense is back now. So, luckily they didn't have to do that. I know they care about history books and stuff, but my contention is that, the most popular sport in America doesn't care about history books really. And that's the NFL. Like no one really cares about records and total yards. They really don't. And not like baseball, which has been kind of, that's all they've had the last 25, 30 years, really, as they see get passed by football. Even basketball, people aren't really, LeBron's going to pass Kareem. I mean, if that was 20, 30 years ago, whether it was Aaron passing Ruth or, certainly Gretzky passing Howe, It just doesn't seem to doesn't resonate with people anymore, it seems. So I did tweet this the other night about the overtime. I think it would be cool to experiment. And obviously that's where the AHL is a good place to experiment. That's where they did 3-on-3 first. Is just play pond hockey in overtime. Is like, you don't have offside, don't have icing, and just go and see how it looks, and see if we get back to that impulsive, frenetic overtime that we just fell in love with those first 3 to 4 or 5 years. It was so exciting. Now it's so tactical. It's like soccer where it's territorial, it's possession. I get it. It's smart, limiting possessions and just wait and regrouping. Don't give the puck up because it is hard to get it back. So that's something I would like to see maybe the AHL try, maybe next year for the first 30 games or 40, as long as they think if it doesn't just sully the game. But I think it'd be kind of cool. Just play true pond hockey. I think people would identify with it. I think it would be really interesting just to see how it looks and see if we get these incredibly long stretch passes. What kind of tactics are involved with that?
How
Now, again,
it
maybe
shifts, shift strategy completely.
Yeah, maybe it doesn't work. Maybe it makes it worse. I don't know, but like, I'm up for trying things. I always say, just try things. It's just sports, and if it doesn't work, we'll change it back. It's not that big a deal, especially if you try it in the AHL. I think it would translate pretty well. Always better in the NHL, but that's the one thing that did come to mind. Other than that, I love this. I love the game. I love the skill. The skating is just insane. So other than that, nothing really comes to mind other than that.
I like the idea of the pond hockey thing. I from time to time you catch a game on YouTube or something while you're scrolling through, and you see them get hit with a 2-line pass, and you're like, oh, and you kind of cringe when you hear them say the play was blown dead on a 2-line pass.
2-line pass.
Oh, horrible.
Yeah,
horrible.
Back in the old days, yeah.
What favorite hockey movie?
Wow, certainly. Slapshot is just an amazing piece of writing, and it's so timely. It really reflected that time, and I was a kid of the '70s, so it kind of it takes me back to when I was a hockey fan. Where they filmed that in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. I was born in Pittsburgh. I always lived around Pittsburgh, and my dad would take us to Penguin games certainly a couple times a year. But I remember we went to a game in Johnstown, the Johnstown Jets. Where they filmed Slapshot, and I just remember, and there was, sure enough, there was a bench clearing brawl. I'll never forget the image. I'll never forget the image of this guy. He looked like George Washington on the ice, like literally, like the $1 bill. But he was probably 37. But back in the 37-year-olds who went prematurely gray, they literally looked 70 years old. I just remember him just pinning this guy down, just feeding him as like a young kid. It was a Cub Scout. My older brother was in the Cub Scouts. I never was, but he was. So I would just kind of tag along their field trips. So I went to this game in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. So that's an interesting Slapshot connection for me. Okay. But yeah, that's certainly, I think that movie with the just how it reflects the time. Certainly Miracle was really cool. I thought they did a great job and did really well. But I lived through that. I saw it. I was 14 years old watching those Olympics in Ohio. And so and read a lot of books on it too, but still they did a good job, even despite all that, knowing the ending, knowing what's going to happen, but obviously bringing characters to, again, I know a lot of the I know Mike Eruzione, like in real life, I know all these people and I've met them. So it's tough to really, to compare that to a Slapshot.
Mm-hmm.
So we were also discussing a couple weeks ago, we were trying to figure out if there had ever been a guy to win the Hart and his team missed the playoffs. This year, it could potentially happen with Connor McDavid, although I don't think I see Edmonton missing the playoffs. Can Connor McDavid lead in every statistical category with goals, assists, points, and his team missed a playoff and still win the Hart? Can that happen?
Yeah, I think so. Has it happened? That's a good question. I should know that.
We went back and we couldn't find anybody to do it.
Yeah, I doubt it's happened, but yeah, I think because he is such a large lead, and I don't think unless he were to miss some games, I just can't. And if somebody else maybe exploded, if David Pastrnak just went nuts and suddenly scored 70 goals, and the Bruins had the best record, and McDavid missed the playoffs, that's possible. But I had a vote for the first time last year with all the major awards, which was pretty cool. I'd never had a vote before. And as I looked at the MVP, I know some people were fishing Shesterkin out there, and I think he got a couple first place votes. And obviously Austin Matthews had a big year, but I just told myself, I am not going to be the guy when we look back at hockey at hockeyreference.com 20 years from now and realize, why did Connor McDavid win 3 MVPs? I mean, he was the best player every year by far, and he was good enough last year. I'm voting for Connor McDavid. I want that on my record. So I don't know if I'm going to get the vote again this year. I don't know. We'll see. But I voted for Connor McDavid last year just because I feel like, man, some of these great athletes, you know, when we go back and look at how many MVPs they won, it's like, why did they only win 1 or 2 or 3? That's not right. He was the best player in his sport for 10 years. You know, maybe the time didn't work out with his team, and some guy had this, you know, crazy year or whatever, and he got, you know, and he got it. But, you know, like someone like when Taylor Hall won the MVP, I'm not sure if that was really, but, you know, he kind of came out of nowhere. They were good. And then you get a conversation and a vibe, and suddenly someone wins an MVP. And I think that happens a lot of the time. So, yeah, I would, if I get a vote again this year and they don't make the playoffs, that will be interesting. But I think I'd probably vote for him again.
You mean you don't want to be the one guy who didn't go for Derek Jeter to get in the Hall of Fame? You don't want to be that one guy?
Right.
All right, good.
Yeah, or the guy who didn't have, you know, Pedro Martinez in his top 10. He didn't win MVP. Things like that. It's like, no, I'm gonna do this the right way, because this lives forever.
Yeah.
So the majority of us really like our foods, and most of us are Italian. Your top 3 chicken parms.
Wow. Well, certainly the north end of Boston, this place called Catarecci's. It was with my son during COVID. It was an outdoor sidewalk situation, summer, beautiful night. And I took a picture of it and I would tweet it to people, and they recommend where in Boston to get one. It was just absolutely phenomenal. And Ray Bork, just 2 restaurants to the right there on Hanover Street in the north end, has an amazing veal chop the size of, you know, Pat Quinn's head. The late Pat Quinn had a giant melon, and this thing is, you know, it's off the charts good. And then, you know, the third place would be mine that I make. You know, I'll give my bronze medal anytime I make it.
Absolutely.
You know, I see a lot of pictures that people send you of theirs. Have you ever posted a picture of yours?
You know, I don't know. I think I have back in the day, but I need to do that again. You're right. And maybe make it my avatar. So I need to step up and and do that again. I will soon.
All right. So before we get to the silly questions, we're going to go team by team. Billy's going to start off with a couple questions about the Penguins.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks. Well, my first one you kind of touched on already when we were going around the room, seeing whose team was going to win the cup first, and I don't think the Penguins were very high up there. You know, that after they've been out of the playoffs in the first round for 4 years in a row, and then they had the free agency situation with Malkin and Letang, and they brought him back. It kind of spoke to me, saying the Penguins were okay with the status quo of trying to make the playoffs with these guys and trying to build that legacy of like almost 2 decades of them making the playoffs, but pretty much saying, yeah, we know we're not gonna do much when we get there. But what do you think? Do you think there's any window open for this core group at this point?
Yeah, I just can't imagine, unless someone unexpectedly pops, you know, to get a prospect that just suddenly becomes, you know, like a David Pastrnak, again, going back to a guy who was picked late first round and then suddenly becomes an MVP guy. You know, that wasn't expected, or he would have gone top 3, you know? And so if you hit on it, you know, Brad Marchand was a 3rd round pick and Kucherov was a 2nd round pick. So, you know, one of these kids they took in the last couple of years, you know, of course they trade their first rounders, but so if some 2nd or 3rd rounder, you know, Braden Point was a 3rd rounder, suddenly pops, okay. And then they get the right free agent, create the cap room where some guy comes in who maybe wants to play with Sid or something, an older guy who might take less. So it's going to be something like that, I think, like some sort of really intricate, you know, a bit of ingredients as you make a dish like we just talked about. It's going to have to, everything's just got to come together perfectly, I think, for it to work out. I just don't see otherwise how they're going to do it as these guys get older every year.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there. And you know, I feel great watching those guys. You know, I feel privileged that I got to watch them for so long. Yeah, but again, it's
like I was I was a big Celtics fan in the 80s, and it reached a point where Bird's back was gone and Parrish was getting older. McHale played on the broken foot in 87, so he was never the same. And and Dave Gavitt came in. They hired him, the guy who started the Big East. It's like, all right, do I trade these guys? I can't trade these guys. So they knew they would just slowly fade like they did, and took them, you know, till 20 years later to win again with KG and those guys, you know. Right. So that's what the Penguins, they remind me of those Celtics teams. They both won 3 championships. Celtics won 3, 81, 84, 86. And of course, the Penguins got their 3. So I think if I still wrote a column, that would actually be
that's a great analogy.
You know, right. Bird is kind of Sid. McHale's like Malkin, who's just an unbelievable player who would have been fine on his own. And I guess Parrish would kind of be like Letang. That I don't know if Letang probably won't make the Hall of Fame. Parrish did, but he was that guy, obviously very good and aging the best of the three. Like, Parrish aged the best. He played till he was 42 for like 4 more teams. And Letang has actually had a great year last year, is in really good shape. Of course, this year with the stroke and his dad passing, it's kind of a lost year, but I still think that he's a good player. I mean, he's obviously their best defenseman. And that's, again, he shouldn't be this age. And that's, again, that speaks to the Penguins, their best forward and their best defensemen are guys who are in their mid 30s, and it's a young man's game, like the NFL, man. It's speed, and those guys need to be carried by somebody else now, like Pasha is carrying Bergeron and Marchand, because that's why their window has been extended because of Pasternak's unexpected superstar status. They did not expect that, so you need to be surprised at this point to get up there again, like Point and Kucherov, surprised. Kucherov's a Hall of Famer. Point might be. That's how good his early resume is. Of course, Hedman's in. He was a first pick overall, and Stamkos first pick overall. He's a Hall of Famer. And then Vasilevsky, they take in the first round, which is I don't know why people don't take more goalies in the first round. I never understood that. The most important position. It's almost like the quarterback in the NFL. But those guys take a quarterback every year. You got to give it a shot in case you hit. And even Patrick Mahomes, when the Chiefs took Mahomes, like, well, we got Alex Smith. But he is a good quarterback. You never know. No one thought he'd be this. They thought he'd be good. But so that's why I don't know why more teams don't take the best goalie on the board, especially if you have 2 picks. But they don't, and then they just go fishing for him.
So my last Penguins related question for you. This could be a quick one. Knowing what you know right now, if you were able to go back in time and pick either Crosby or Ovechkin to start your team, well, which guy would you pick?
Yeah, it's definitely Crosby. In fact, his position being a center, what turned out to be his commitment to the game, although Ovechkin has a great commitment to the game too. He loves the game. That's why he has scored so much. He has a high enthusiasm. He has a body built for time, obviously. Go back to, compare another basketball analogy, LeBron James, same thing, just doesn't get hurt. That's why James is going to break Abdul-Jabbar's record next month. And it's why Ovechkin is going to break Gretzky's record in 2 years. So guys who just have a body that never breaks down. It's like, they're like a Volvo, they never go away. They're just, you got them forever once you get one. So yeah, I think Sid's the right, obviously he's 3-1 Stanley Cup, but again, Sid was lucky to get Gino the next year, and Ovi never got that other guy. So it was such a luxury for Bird to get McHale, for Crosby to get, to get Gino. For Wayne to have Messier, same thing. So you got to get lucky in that situation. And but in the end, Sid has been the generation's face for his commitment to the game, his complete maniacal fitness and improvement and love of the game. And so he'd be the guy.
I love that answer. I love Ovi too in my own way, but I love that answer.
I like him too. Yeah.
Ovi's such a throwback, though. You don't find players like him who play the physical game, score the goals, get in those dirty areas, and just kill it on the power play. It's like Gretzky. You knew he was going behind the net to make those passes and be in his office, and Ovechkin just sets up on the circles, and it's just, you can't stop it.
He's a tank. I mean, great genetics. His mom was obviously an Olympic gold medalist basketball player. His dad was strong, so he's great genetics, and plus his parents were, as they say, especially hockey, that's why I always talk about youth hockey, why kids tend to be very good kids with good manners and great characters, because, well, one, they came from 2 parents, because you need that in hockey. You need it's 2, you need 2 against 1 for a game that's time demanding, cost demanding. And then those parents just, they just fostered him, and they taught him, we see, that's why GMs like ex-athletes' sons or daughters on their teams, because they grew up with the game, they get the nuance. And so to have an Olympic mom and his dad, and then of course, when he came to the States, they moved with him. They've always lived with him. Right. So, he's always had that support, that family unit support. And so did Sid. Sid had his parents right nearby in Nova Scotia, to very close to Pennsylvania, not a long way. So it just kind of continues a lot of the times for these hockey guys to get that support from a family. And because it's just, like I said, it's a expensive sport. It requires early mornings, cold, like so many boxes, that a parent would say, I don't want to do this. There's a lot of those to check. and yet we still did them, and so that usually turns out a kid who sees a parent sacrifice. So they see that example. It's unspoken. You don't have to even think about it. It becomes innate that you do that you carry a bag and that you do it to the next generation, that you have good manners and you're very respectful and you're a good teammate, you sacrifice, you block shots. Like see Zach Parise, I mentioned on the broadcast the other night, Islanders, he's made $109 million in his career. He's playing for the league minimum this year, and he's blocking shots with his team winning, 3-0 the other night against Detroit. He's like, what's he doing? That's not normal. Right. That shows how much he wants to win the cup and wants to make the playoffs. And it's going to be curious to see the Islanders. I actually thought they might trade him to a top level team, a Tampa Bay, a Boston, because he'd be a good fourth line depth guy, do anything to win, play for him. But obviously with the Isles getting Horvat, they're probably thinking, no, we want to make the playoffs now. So we want to keep Parise.
All right, we're gonna switch teams, and we're gonna go to the Rangers here. So there's been plenty of discussion on this podcast about the Rangers developing young players. You see Hedl, you see Kakko, you see some of the guys that they have traded away. But what do the Rangers have to do as an organization to get better at developing these young, particularly forwards, to play better or play up to the potential?
Yeah, well, they might be doing all the right things. Like they might be. It's just because you are kind of caught in the middle, where a team that's trying to win now because they have Panarin and Zibanejad and Kreider, guys who are older and expect to win, and they have an elite goaltender. So that always gives you hope that, geez, maybe we can do it. We're not that far away because we got that guy, And where the Penguins have Christian Jarry. Now, if the Penguins had the Igor Shesterkin, their whole attitude changes. Like, we can still win the cup with this older team because we got that guy back there. And so so maybe these players are going to be as good as they would be no matter where they went, no matter how they were developed, even though, going up and down, maybe, Gerard Gallant is a different cat, and maybe he's not the ultimate player developer. I don't know. But, I think they are who they are, and they're slowly getting better. Kakko's starting to find his way, but, Kakko's not a great skater, so he's not going to fly around like Jack Hughes and Jesper Bratt. He's got to do it a different way. So he's got to gain experience, and he's doing that. He had a great shift the other night. I like him. I think I think he has something about him. He almost plays like an older player with his speed, and you can play that way. You don't have to. Not everyone has to be a burner to be effective, and so they have to wait for him to get those things. He's not doing it with his speed only because he doesn't quite have that game. So he's got to do it with all the other little things, make the right decision, have a great feel for the game, great hockey sense, and Lafreniere, maybe he is just a third line banging winger who can just go up and down the ice, pest a little bit, maybe fight once a year, get almost like a little Tom Wilson, maybe a bigger Brad Marchand and a smaller Tom Wilson, where he just kind of plays that role, and that's fine. But when you take him first overall, there's so many expectations they have, and they think it's a failure if he becomes this 12-year pro, as it turns out, who's going to maybe still get 20, 25 goals and just be a pest and maybe end up being a penalty killer. Like, all kinds of things could happen. So, and I think with Chris Drury at the helm, he's so smart and he knows what to do. He's not going to feel the pressure. He didn't feel pressure when he won the Little League World Series, as a 12-year-old pitcher. So he's the perfect guy. He can convince, I think, these people to slot these guys where they should be. And then, and then add the right guy at the deadline. Because, I think they are one or two players away. They are relying on young D to try to step up, and they can't be bad for a couple weeks. Keandre Miller can't afford to slump in the postseason like he did earlier in the year. Just can't do it. So there is the pressure on it, but he has time to get better. 3 months from now, he could be a significantly better player because he's so young. Young people can make big leaps where the older player just really won't. They have to try to get hot. So I still feel pretty good about the Rangers. If they can tweak, and these young guys still have, like I said, they have 3 months to get better before the playoffs start. And so keep finding their way. And then Shesterkin just has to go on another heater and go from there. So we'll see about the Rangers, but I still think they're, that the tier below Tampa, Carolina, Boston. They're like right there. Like, they're knocking at that door.
So Adam Fox has already won a Norris Trophy. Kind of reminds me of the guy's jersey that's hanging behind me in Brian Leach. He won when he won the Norris. He actually cost me 2 BUCCIGROSS t-shirts. I lost that to you. Does he win a Hart one day? What's further to that, what's his ceiling?
Yeah, I don't think he wins a Hart, just because he's not the skater Leach was. Doesn't skate like Paul Coffey. He doesn't skate like these, Cale Makar. He does it differently. Just obviously a Mensa hockey mind for sure. But he's not a big power play threat. I'm surprised he doesn't score more power play goals. They get none last year in the regular season. Like, how's that even happen? The way he gets shots through, you think some would deflect. I'm sure he'll have a couple of years where everything goes in for him, and he has like 8 or 9 because he's so good at saucing the puck softly towards the net, looking for redirection. So I just think he lacks that turbo Corvette engine over 82 games to put up real massive numbers. Now, again, it could all go right. A former Ranger defenseman, he actually kind of reminds me of Brad Park back in the day, where if there wasn't a Bobby Orr, Brad Park would have won 5 Norris trophies. That's how good he was. Not a great skater, but just elite hockey mind, just absolutely brilliant. And that's what Fox is. He's absolutely brilliant. So certainly, and again, it's hard to win these trophies. I've said this last year, like, we should have 2 sets of trophies. There's too many teams. There's 32 teams. We give out 1 Norris trophy.
Right.
I mean, baseball gives 2 Cy Youngs, 2 MVPs, 2 everything. And that's because, as we know, that there were 2 distinctive leagues who didn't play each other, until the 90s. So that's why they did that. But now, once they did start to play each other and have interleague play, they still give out 2 MVPs. Because you predominantly play the people in your conference league in baseball, conference in every other sport. So we need to give out 2, because Adam Fox might never win another one. Like Cale Makar might win 2, and Hedman might win another one. So we're not giving out enough awards.
I agree with that. And we have talked about, other awards, maybe a defensive defenseman award or something to that effect for sure. So last one for me, there's been big discussions all season, and it seems to be centered around Patrick Kane and adjusting your roster and making sure you have cap room at the trade deadline for a Patrick Kane type player. Are they better off going all in and betting the farm on one guy, or trying to break it out and getting your 7th defenseman, getting a second and maybe 4th line player to increase your depth? Which route are they better off going to?
Yeah, I don't think Kane's the fit. He doesn't play any defense. He plays Panarin's position on the power play, and you can't change that.
No.
Because Benajad's on the side. Patrick Kane has to be traded to a team where he's on the first power play unit. Maybe he would play, do the second unit, because same thing with Colorado. That's Mikko Rantanen's position. Mikko Rantanen is not going to go anywhere else in there. That guy's an elite superstar, MVP candidate this year. So yeah, I do think in the end, though, Colorado is the place for Kane, where he plays down the lineup, occasional power play time, depth if someone gets hurt, doesn't have to carry the mail there that much, can go down there in the 3rd line, play like with Newhook and maybe somebody else and some guy who can really shoot it and elevate them. But, so I don't think Kane and the Rangers is a fit. I don't see that. He doesn't shoot as much anymore. He's not a goal scorer anymore. He's pretty much a disher. And so I guess if they see someone who they think he can elevate on their team as a goal scorer, but again, I don't even see that. The top line's the top line, and they are who they are. I just don't see someone who he could make like an Alex DeBrincat, and what he did for Panarin in Chicago and what he did for DeBrincat, making them 40 goal scorers, 30 goal scorers. I don't see that. If I could identify a guy in the Rangers where if they put him on that line, he would do that. But again, maybe those young guys, maybe they do think he could do that. Maybe that's what Chris Drury thinks. If we put him with those guys, I think that will work. So to answer your question, yeah, I don't know if that's the right thing. Chris, and again, you can't control things because maybe they like Bo Horvat and think he was the guy, but now he's not there. So then, like, where do you go? So obviously, I'm sure they have a big whiteboard, and these are our options, and do we do anything? So it will be interesting to see for that trade deadline. But I don't think Patrick Kane's the guy.
Yeah, but who saw Frank Vetrano last year? I didn't see Frank Vetrano coming to the Rangers and making as big as impact as he did in last year's playoffs. And so I'm praying he's got something like that.
Right, and they might get him back again because Anaheim will move him, and so Pat Verbeek's going to move a lot of people, and so he'll be available for anybody. So yeah, and since he's been there, that's they think he's comfortable. We know what he can do, so they might just go get him again. So. So that'll be interesting to see what Drury does. He's impossible to read. He's a lot like Lou Lamoriello, comes out of nowhere. So you just don't know with Chris.
Speaking of that's a wonderful transition, man. Speaking
have you
of
done
Lou
this before?
let's shift our question over to the Icelanders.
Yeah. So obviously my day and questions all got changed today based on what happened. So originally my question was going to be around, do they have to make that move, that big move to go get a piece to try and get them into the playoffs? Now that question is Bo Horvat the guy that gets them into the playoffs? Subtracting Anthony Beauvillier, Atiratu, who was really just, AHL and NHL right now prospect kind of player. He's so that's the question really. Is he the guy who gets them into the playoffs?
I think they're certainly kind of, because of the goalie and because we talked about Pittsburgh. We began this talking about Pittsburgh, that I'm sure that's the team they're eyeballing. Okay, if we get Bo Horvat, we have a better goalie than they do. Now we get Horvat up the middle. He's a guy. He's a shooter. He's not. He kind of plays with blinders a little bit. He doesn't make wingers better. But that's why I think if you put him with Barzal, you put Barzal in the wing. Barzal will make him better because he likes to pass and Horvat likes to shoot. So that's perfect. So I think that's the play for them. And then obviously Nelson centers the second line, and Pajot can center the third line, the great face-off guy, and you can move him around if you need a face-off. And so I just think they're kind of set up now. Now, again, do they keep Cizikas on the wing? Does he go down back to his fourth line spot? So they got options. Lane Lambert has options now, and their defense is still not a dynamic defense, so they need Dobson obviously to be healthy and go, and he can in the power play especially. So Horvat, I think he's the exact guy they needed if they were going to get anybody to have a chance, because he can score. He plays the middle. He's got a thick body too. He's a big body guy, so he'll be good. He should be good in the playoffs. And Lou made the move, and I think in the end he didn't give up a lot. He basically only gave up the mid-level the draft pick, which if they make the playoffs, is going to be, it can't be any worse than 14 or so. Right. So, and that's fine. It's going to be a very good draft. Right. But still, he needs the guy. He needs to sign him, which I'm sure he's going to try. Might have to overpay him a bit, but they got to keep him. He's a young guy who can play for 5-6 more years. And Beauvillier he was stale. Same. They got like 6 guys like him, and they got to move all of them. Really, they got. Yep. They got to reinvent their team, right? And it's tough with some of those contracts. You got to get paid Bailey another year at $5 billion. It's like, but they're getting there with those guys that they keep around for a long time. That's one of the cool things about the Islanders. They're there their whole career. Nelson and Beauvillier, and they've been there the whole time. So they get identification with the fans. But they reached a point now. I think we can see it's time to kind of regenerate and start. And Horvat's a good first step.
Yeah. By the way, I'm pretty sure that you've been listening to our podcast for quite some time, because you've been just nailing the things I've been talking about, which usually these guys just make fun of me for. So I appreciate that.
Right. You bet.
So one of the things that I've actually been talking about the last few weeks, I've been kind of thinking this is really the direction where the team's got to go, is putting Matt Barzal on the wing. Because he's not great at faceoffs. The team is pretty good all around, minus Barzal. He's been in a down year, but even before that, he wasn't really above like 42%, 43% on the faceoffs. And defensively, he's okay. He's just an okay kind of defensive player. He's not really that great, that bad, but like you really want a top center to be able to go both ways and really, solidify that down the middle. So is this kind of the move now? Is he going?
I mean, he's going to make $9 million starting next year. I think the way I know Matthew a little bit. I like him. He's kind of he's an interesting guy. He's a flighty kind of personality, but he's fun. And I saw him at the Players Tour out there in Vegas, where they all fly there, and we get to interview a bunch of people. It helps us with content for the whole year. And he came up to me and he says, well, the first thing he says was, "John McEnroe?" Like he legitimately thought of John McEnroe. And then he realized, I go, "John McEnroe, he's like 70. And then eventually he's, because, maybe he may be a little jet lag, but I think he legitimately thought I was John McEnroe.
Wow.
And then after he realized it was me, he goes, I grew up playing the Bucci Overtime Challenge. That makes sense. I started that thing 12 years ago. He would have been like 13 years old. So it's kind of cool. Wow. I have this weird connection with these guys in their prime now, the guys in their early 20s. But I think I can see him, the dude in baseball who has to play shortstop, like Derek Jeter, right? Shortstop's one of those glamorous positions. Obviously, I just think Matthew looks at himself like as a center iceman. He can go where he wants to go. He can stay in motion, doesn't have to stop on the wall, get away from the wall. So I don't know. I think that might be my sense is he would go there begrudgingly. He goes kicking and screaming almost. So we'll see. But again, Patrick Kane was an amazing winger who could protect himself on the wall, didn't take a beating. Matthew would probably have to figure it out. I'm sure he's played center his whole life. He's always been the best player on his team since he was probably 7. So, but I do think he could really thrive there as a winger. I thought Jack Hughes might have to go to the wing because he's so small. And if these injuries keep happening every year, he may need to protect himself a little bit and just hang up by the blue line. And gives him a chance to break out like Kane. He can,
right.
But Jack looks pretty good. He's made a little bit of adjustment. Looks better at center this year. I still think maybe the jury's out. We'll see if he can stay healthy, play in the middle. But I would try it. But again, I think it might be tough to get Matthew to do it.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point. They have a lot of options. We'll see what sticks. Last questions really around around Lou Lamoriello. So this is the 4th year now in a row we've traded our first round pick for help for the playoffs. So does Lou find himself in the hot seat at this point?
He might, but Horvat isn't your conventional, he was traded to sign. So that's when with the Bruins traded their number 1 last year and a 2, I think they had Hampus Lindholm, but they signed him and locked him up. And now they have a really good player at $6.5 million. That was such a steal for Boston to get him. So as long as you can sign the guy, then you trade the one every time, because the guy at 12 or 14 will likely never be as good as Bo Horvat. He might be, but probably not. Now that especially if Horvat continues this production that he's done this year, could be a one-time thing, but likely he's a made man. And so you get the pro, he's a pro hockey player. And he's going to be good for 5 to 6 more years. So you trade that one every time. And Beauvillier is just a guy. I think Ratu is probably going to be just a guy. He could be a good bottom 6 guy. He plays for 10 years. He was a first round projection, went in the second round. And I had his game the other night, and he looks like he's a real player. He could figure it out. Didn't play much because there were so many power plays and stuff, but
right.
And so, I think it was the right trade to make. They didn't give up too much. And especially, like I said, if Horvat signs and then continues to become this good 30 to 40 goal guy as a center.
That'd be great. So
anything to get rid of Anthony Beauvillier. He was a Ranger killer for way too long. So
you're so selfish. You are selfish.
I am selfish
really
in every sense of the word. And listen, no more Ranger Islander games for the rest of the year. So that's great for the NHL schedule. Last but certainly not least, we'll go to Steve with the Devils.
John, I'm sure you'll remember me because about 10 years ago, I bought a BUCCIGROSS shirt from you and sent you some Counting Crows bootlegs with my payment. So I'm sure you remember me.
Yes, I do. I do. I love the Crows. Or Counting Crows. Not the, right.
Like exactly.
U2. Yeah, not the U2. U2.
Right. Is there a trade market for Damon Severson? He's on the last year of his deal. And they're going to have Hughes coming up. They're going to have Nemec coming up. So he's probably on his way out. Is there a need for him on other teams?
Oh, yeah. Anytime you get a right-handed shot with some offense, there's a need. I talked to a GM a couple of weeks ago who asked me about him, and we talked about him. And the price is really high right now.
Okay.
But I was told that Tom Fitzgerald does not want draft picks for Damon Severson. He wants a player. He wants a real player. They're in it to win it. And he's not going to trade him. Now, if no one offers him anything, maybe he ends up going for a 1, but he doesn't really want a 1. He wants an adult to play now and help the team now, because that's how he looks at this team. They're ready to go. The age of Hughes and Heischer, and like I said, the young guys coming up, they don't need another 18-year-old. You don't win with 18-year-olds. And so he would prefer a good play, and he could get a good forward for a guy like Severson, especially if it is a trade and sign. If you get to the agent, hey, this team wants you, is 6.5 times 8, is that good enough for you to sign? If we send you there, yeah, okay, then okay, and then we'll give you that guy. Much like Lou gave up the 1 because he had to have a nod, wink,
right?
That Horvat would take 8 years times $9 million, or whatever their agreed upon number is. I'm sure they'd rather not pay him more than Barzal, but they might have to. They might have to go 9.2 or something. So, but my guess is whatever his market is, whether it's 8.8, 8.9, 9.0, I would think. And obviously, you want the trade, and then you get the 8th year, and that's what it behooves Horvat to do that because he gets the 8th year now. If he becomes UFA, he only gets 7. It's going to cost him It's cost $9 million, whatever his number is, right? Because 8 years from now, he's 35 years old. He ain't making $9 million if his deal ends as a 34-year-old.
Nope.
Whatever that 1 year deal is, it could be $1 million. It could be $750. Like a lot of these vets, like Derek Stepan. Derek Stepan made great money all those years in New York. Now he's a $750 guy. If he wants to play hockey in the NHL, he has to take $750. Or Maroon at $1 million, Perry $1 million, Belmar. It's a once you reach that age. Same thing, right? Yeah, you want $750 or to $1 million, then that's what you're going to get. So get traded, take the 8th year, because in the end, that's real. Now again, that's so much money. 7 years for $9 million a year. So because you want to go play where you want to go play, of course, I would do that every time. But Long Island's a great place to be in the summer, and it's a great rink. It's a beautiful rink. It's like a great history. So I don't see why he wouldn't just take the 8 years there. So, but for Severson, same thing. I think, and he could go to a good team. I think they'd trade him out in the West, but he could go to a good team for a sign and trade, and they could get, like I said, a top 9 forward.
Just to build on that. So do you see him going maybe to San Jose with a couple other pieces for Timo Meier?
Yeah, it's interesting. San Jose seems to really want to strip it down. I don't know if they'd want to keep Severson for where they are, because I know they're obviously going to try to trade Carlson. What will teams make them eat of that contract? How does that make sense for them long-term cap? Yeah, San Jose. I almost look at a team like Dallas or someone like that, where he could help them right away and beyond this year. They had Klingberg and they let him go because they couldn't agree to a contract. Well, maybe Severson would take the contract they were going to give Klingberg, a team like that. Could St. Louis look to reconstruct their D? They pay their D a lot already, so it'd be hard. Parayko's overpaid now, and Krug makes a lot, and so that might not quite. But Minnesota, could they somehow slot him in if they trade some? It could be like a salary for salary trade, right? And then maybe they keep him going forward because they feel like if we want to get that next level, we need a guy like him, a right-handed shot power play guy. We don't really have that. We're kind of small with Dumba and over here. So, yeah, I think that's what that trade will look like. He's going to go to a decent team, I think, for a real player.
Okay, and just because it's all over Devil's Twitter, what do you think the market is for a Timo Meier? Do you think this Horvat deal sets the market as at a young player, a first?
I do. Yeah, that's a good point. I think the Horvat trade about sets the market for Meier, which is obviously a number one, a prospect, a definite, like you said,
Holtz?
AHL. Definitely. I mean, I would do that. I would do that in a heartbeat. Yeah. I think they're not going to need him over the next 7 years. I don't think, you know what I mean? They'll be able to find that need, whatever it is, with what they have. And with a future free UFA, whatever that is. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised in 3 years if they get Johnny Gaudreau. Like, I always thought when he signed in Columbus, he'd be there, like, see how it goes. Once it starts to go south, which it already had, and then if it stays there, because obviously there's so many injuries, but when they get Rowensky back, everybody back, it's not going to be that much better. So he might realize, what, and then Columbus, like, well, we don't want to. It makes sense for us. Let's trade him back east, either to Philly or New Jersey, where both those organizations are. They'll both be in position probably to fit him in. Again, maybe Columbus eats $2 million of the $9 million. Now he's a $7 million player. Well, that works. I could almost, so that's why, yes. So I would trade Holt, someone like that, and a 1. And then, like you said, maybe one of their guys, or whatever that, maybe another guy on the roster now that they think is expendable, or another American League guy who they drafted last year, who whatever team he's going to likes, right? You pick the two, and So I do think, Meier is going to get that kind of haul. I think he's a legit 30 to 40 goal scorer. And that's, and again, when you put him with great players like Jack Hughes makes people rich. He's going to make people rich. And like I always said, Jake Genso has a bigger house. Good player, really good player, but he got a bigger house because he played with Sidney Crosby.
Brian Rust too, right?
Yeah, might get him 8 more goals a year. So the 25 becomes 35, the 30 becomes 40, and then you have a bigger house. So, and Jack Hughes is going to be that guy. So, like, when you trade for Timo Meier or someone like that, you realize, well, he's going to be better with us because we're really good.
Right.
So that's that way you can give more than maybe the fan says, well, we gave up a lot to get him. Well, you do that. And the thing, even though the Bruins stole Taylor Hall from Buffalo, but, again, Buffalo didn't have any kind of, but then they signed him, and so that became an amazing trade. Now, again, that now back to the Bruins, that expand their window even a couple more years because now they get more help. So yeah, I do see the market like that. And but that could be a 3-team thing where Severson then goes somewhere else. So San Jose gets, a younger guy. I just don't know if he's ready to go now. Severson is like a real good player, and I just don't think San Jose wants to be good for 3 years.
Okay, interesting. All right, Tom, rapid fire time.
Okay. Well, listen, you said Damon Severson in Minnesota. It's almost like Damon Severson is meant to go to Minnesota now. That's all I can think about. He seems like
some players have that vibe, whether their name or like he fits there.
Yes, man. All right, so we have some show debates. So we want your take on these.
All right.
Pop-Tarts, toasted or not toasted?
Yeah, I eat them raw, strawberry, and rather.
All right. At least he eats strawberry for you, Tom.
Well, at least you did strawberry. Nestle Quick, chocolate or strawberry?
Yeah, and chocolate again all the time.
Yes.
I just had it 2 days ago driving home to Connecticut here in Massachusetts. I said, "Oh, perfect. I'll get myself chocolate milk." Yeah.
I had
I'll get the strawberry next time, and I'll see. Maybe it could change.
All right, good.
Over a long life.
John, real men drink pink. John, real men drink.
All
pink.
Right.
Mac and cheese, Velveeta or Kraft?
That's good. I don't know if I could really tell the difference. Velveeta sounds cheesier. I grew up with Kraft and loved it, but is Velveeta cheesier?
Yeah, it comes with a cheese pouch,
creamy,
not
cheesy.
the powder.
It's a liquid mix instead of a powder. Yeah.
Almost like a baked ziti kind of thing.
Yes.
Right? But yeah, I'm sure they're both glorious, but I can't quite picture the Velveeta.
You're right. They're both glorious. Taylor ham or pork roll?
What was that?
Do you call it Taylor ham or pork roll?
Or do you not call it anything because you're from New England?
This is a specifically New Jersey
Jersey thing
question.
Yeah, I'm not aware of Taylor Hall, but yeah, I'm not aware of that.
All right.
All right. Next time you go to a game at the Rock and you wake up for breakfast in the morning, get a Taylor ham sandwich or a Taylor ham and a hard roll. There you go.
Okay.
Or a Taylor
I'd probably
ham
go
egg.
I'm not a big ham fan. I did have chopped ham when I was a kid growing up near Pittsburgh. My mom made ham and mustard sandwiches for my brown bag lunch. So, and that was pretty good. But yeah, generally not a ham guy. I love pork.
All right.
Me too. All right. Couple. Now, these are some weird questions. I hope we don't weird you out too much with this. Would you be weirded out by a guy who has written down everything he has eaten for the past decade plus and kept it in planners, and not only that, keeps the planners in his closet?
It's actually almost 20 years.
I'm sorry. Almost
yeah,
20
I actually wish. I must admit, I wish I did more journaling in my life.
Oh.
That's a bit extensive. I would never do that. But but maybe for a year, maybe for
you want to borrow a planner?
I knew it was Steve. It was obvious it was Steve.
and lastly, secondary question to that. Now, would you ever eat cereal this way? Would you pour yourself a bowl of cereal, pour in the milk, then drink the milk first, and then eat the cereal?
No, I wouldn't do that.
I mean,
damn it.
Again,
send me my CDs back.
I've eaten more bowls of cereal pound for pound probably than anybody. I mean, I finally gave it up about 5 years ago, but I probably averaged 2 bowls of cereal a day for the first 49 years of my life. Like, wow. So I had some quirkies, like when I had Crunch Berries, I would eat all the Captain Crunch first, then do the Crunch Berries. That was one kind of thing I did. But other than that, no, I just no, I would not do that. I enjoyed the combo, and then I love drinking that milk at the end. Like Apple Jacks milk is the best milk of all time. After you eat the Apple Jacks, that milk is the best ever. And life too. I really enjoy I enjoyed the life as well.
Mikey likes it.
I got a question. Do you have any game day superstitions or rituals? Obviously I love the nap, so I do love make sure I get a little nap, get up, take a shower, and then get some sort of energy drink or pre-workout drink to get me going. Okay. Vitamin Shop has one called Atomic War. So
I like to have an atomic war. So I get the nap, I get the shower, and then I'm going to the rink. I get drained, and I just get that, and I start drinking that, and it starts going through my veins, all that caffeine and taurine. I'm just ready to go. I'm ready for war. I'm literally ready for war. So
Awesome.
Do you go to pregame skates?
Yeah, go to pregame skates. We get, after the coach talks to the media, we then get it by one-on-one in a room, which is really fun. I like to keep it kind of light and not too much, learn about them. Daryl Sutter last week and get to know him. It's really cool. And then sometimes we can go in the room and just kind of, just real quick, just kind of, maybe see some guys if guy I want to say hi to, or someone who I have a relationship with, just want to talk to him for a bit. So yeah, morning skates are a great way to, and see other media people too. So it's really cool.
Nice. All right. Lastly, I called the Empire State Building, and they're going to light up the Empire State Building in the colors for Heidelberg University tonight in the old black, red, and orange. Just for you, John.
There you go, right there. That's the.
Look at that.
Hey, look at that.
I just got it painted. It was just the H, but I got the orange around the edge, and they put just a little bit of red, which I really appreciated. So yeah, I love that.
Very
I
nice.
appreciate it.
Nice. Well,
Excellent.
thank you so much for your generosity with your time. It was
that was fun.
certainly a treat.
You guys-
Amazing.
Well, I unfortunately with Mom, I missed the sequel to 3 Men and a Baby. From 1991. So you guys interrupted my movie watching.
That's a Steve Gutenberg classic.
Just imagine Steve Gutenberg was a star in the 80s. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, I know.
Those Police Academy movies, man.
Unbelievable.
Great.
That's right. In Police Academy too. That guy had a good day.
He had a run.
Oh,
He
man.
had a
He
good
was,
run.
what was that? Johnny Five. What
He
was
was the
that movie?
guy.
Short Circuit.
Short
And then-
Circuit.
Short Circuit.
Another great.
movies.
And of course, Danson kept going, and Selleck, kept going, and but the Goot didn't quite keep it going.
Goot never had his run on Friends for some reason. I don't know why.
That would have been his spot. Yeah, he would have become an accumulator Hall of Famer.
All right, John. But every guest that comes on our podcast gets a Friends and Rivals T-shirt. So
All right.
please, if you can respond to the email I sent you with your address, we would love to send you one, and your shirt size, please.
Yeah, youth medium, please, and you can cut the sleeves off, and then we got ourselves a deal.
Well, there you go. No problem. Any size you
Awesome.
want, not a problem.
Very
Thanks
nice.
so much,
Thank you,
ladies and
again,
gentlemen.
John.
The great John BUCCIGROSS.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll send back the Cunning Crow bootlegs if you throw in a 1.
All right, you got it.
Peace out,
Anything
boys.
you do.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir,
Thanks
very
so much,
much.
John.
Yeah.
Bye.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Man, what a
Holy fucking shit.
that was
Wow.
almost in
Well,
type 45, boys. Type 45, boys.
I
Those
was
are cursing
gonna,
already.
Holy
gonna
shit.
say-
Did that just happen?
That was amazing. He was, because
Well
he
done.
said what, 20, 30 minutes, and I said, yeah, probably 30 minutes.
And he does an
Well,
hour.
he blew
We
our
were
45,
asking
man.
questions, and he just went for it, man. He
He's
just
so generous.
go.
That was better than I
Very
could have
good.
ever expected. And boys, the questions, the camaraderie, the talking, everything. It looked like we knew what the fuck we were doing. Holy shit.
Wow.
that's how a
Good.
professional does it. Holy crap.
You couldn't get any better than that. Very
Absolutely.
generous with his time. Very generous with his time. Let's go and do a little Friends and Rivals the Cup, Nick.
So,
I'm not in last place anymore, am I?
have you been in
You can
last
say
place
it.
for a bit?
You could say
For a
it.
bit?
Oh, I was in last place for the
Yeah,
past
it was in last
probably-
place.
probably 2 weeks. It was lonely down there.
Well, we're back in the. You're not in the. Yeah, you're out of you're in the third spot. We're good. You're finally good.
Woo!
Look at this.
What does it
Steve
matter?
doing some-
Steve doesn't look that happy.
What does it matter?
Too fucking bad.
Well, we're getting closer to the end here. We're in the 250 range of games left.
If the
for about all
season
of
ended
us.
tonight,
It doesn't look like it's going to change the number in terms of first place. This is definitely
fuck
going to be
yourself.
a second, third, fourth race, unfortunately. I'm at 486 points. Steve's got 433, so I'm up over 50 points, which hasn't changed in months. So I don't think that's going to change much. I think we're really going to focus on the second place victory, for the rest of the season here. In that case, Tom is back about 7 points from Steve. With unfortunately though,
A
Steve
lot of
is-
games in hand.
Steve's like 8 games
Yeah.
less than you. So that's a pretty big. Yeah, you and Bill should be jumping here. You guys
I
are
don't
right
think
there.
we're not worried about Steve all that much.
Now, I think you're gonna leapfrog him in a little bit. But yeah, to be honest, I got the top 3 teams right now, so it's kind of killing it really for the rest of you guys. Bruins, Hurricanes, and Leafs. Much to my dismay, John Tavares and the Leafs are currently 3rd in the league in points. Devils right behind Stars, Tampa Lightning. So Steve's got 3 of the top 8, 10, 3 of the top 10, but I've got 5 of the top 10, which is kind of crushing it. So that's where we are. Not really much change, but we're getting close to that. I think when we get to that last week in the season, I'm really hoping you guys are all like really, really close. And it comes down to like one game. You know,
I think it will. I honestly think it will.
It'll give us something to push for.
Let's take a ride in the Metro. Sponsored by Nestle Quick. Hello, boys and girls. Do you hate the taste of regular milk and need energy? Try Nestle Quick. One sip and you can feel the energy in your muscles. Nestle Quick, now available in chocolate and strawberry.
They say the real men drink pink. Then I'm a real man for sure. But if you like the brown, I still love you for who you are. Because it's time for acceptance of everyone, all preference. We're all quick on the inside anyway. Nestle Quick, it does the trick.
We're doing a real quick one tonight. Penguins were 3 points, 1-1-1. Icelanders 4 points, 2-2 on the week. Devils were 2-1 with 4 points. Rangers 2-0-1 with 5 points. There's your Metro.
And now it's time for trivia with Bill. Yeah.
Now this is the wrong Bill.
What is the name of the award for the league's best goalie?
It's the John BUCCIGROSS Award from now on.
It should be, and there should be 2 of them. There should be 2
everything is going to be the John
Everything
BUCCIGROSS.
is the John BUCCIGROSS Award.
I think it'd be better if you called it chicken parma or something.
It's
the Parmies.
It's the Dominic Hasek flop.
Ooh,
No.
that's good.
It's
No.
the most valuable waffle board.
No. I like that. I like that better than even the BUCCIGROSS award. Though that's a fantastic.
It's the Ron Hextall 5-hole.
And no, it's not. You know, I just want to. Do you want me to go to multiple
Is it called
choice?
the
multiple
Pelly
choice so bad.
Lindbergh Award?
Too soon.
Too soon?
Too soon.
Oh.
Definitely. That guy was he ran into was a wall though,
Bill.
in the net.
It's a John Van Beesbroek Award for
Everything with Bill and goalie is.
You know, John Van
Markovich?
Beesbroek has all 5 vowels in his last name.
I heard that
No.
somewhere. I don't know where.
No, not a Martin Kovic.
Is it the Clint Malarchek Award?
Bloody good answer, but no.
Oh, it's the Jay Hutchinson Toothless Award.
Oh no.
I think that's
No?
the award for who's got the dumbest teammate. I think that award goes to that guy.
Oh, I wonder who that is.
Let's go.
You want?
Let's go. Yeah.
Okay.
Go.
A.
Yeah. How about you go multiple choice?
A. The Vezina Trophy. B. The Verrazano Trophy.
Oh, fuck! How did we not say that one?
How did we not get that? Of course, it's the
Verrazano.
Oh my God!
Forget about it.
The Williamsburg Trophy.
It's not actually. C. The Norris Trophy or D. The Harris Trophy.
Oh.
I still got to stick with the Verrazano. I'm going with
because you want to leave narrow gaps in net, so it's the Verrazano Narrows Trophy.
It costs you $20 every time you say the name, so we can't say anymore, guys.
Oh,
we're really screwed.
I'm surprised the trophy isn't one of the ones on this list.
Oh, come on!
Not yet, Bill.
Can't say,
guys.
Yeah, like you don't have any editing.
All right. It's the Vezina Award, right?
Yes.
And I get number 100.
The Vezina
correct,
Trophy.
Baby.
there you go.
And now it's time for impressions with Nick.
Fucking great. Ladies and gentlemen, the Friends and Rivals podcast. You're ready for the fastest 2 minutes of this Type 45 show. It's the 20 questions power play. The rules are simple. The group has 2 minutes to guess a famous player, coach, front office, or any famous person associated with one of the 4 Friends and Rivals favorite teams. The group can ask up to 20 questions in rapid fire. Answers will only come in the form of yes or no. The group will have to make a final guess once they've hit 20 questions or the power play has expired. If the group is successful, they win for the week and avoid shame for unable to win at a children's game. And away we go.
Is this player associated with the Devils?
Yes.
Person
No,
associated with
no.
Person associated with the Rangers.
Yes.
Is this person associated with any of the other teams of ours?
Yes.
Is this
Not the Devils.
is this person a player?
Yes.
Person associated with the Islanders.
Yes.
You gotta ask me.
Is this player a forward?
Yes.
Is this player Canadian?
Yes.
Pat LaFontaine.
No.
Wait,
Is-
it's an Islander and a Ranger.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we don't know if it's a Penguin or not.
Was this guy also a Penguin?
No.
Did this player play in the 90s?
Yes.
Did this player also play in the 2000s?
Yes.
Come on, Tom.
I hate these guys.
Did Lindros play for the other Lindros
Brett?
play for the Rangers ever?
Brett Lindros? No.
Was it Chris Simon?
What? What?
That was an OB Ripper
What?
from the friggin' circle, baby!
I could not believe you got that. I thought for sure you were not going to get this one. I wanted revenge for the last couple you've gotten. What?
Oh,
How did
man.
how did that pop into your brain?
That was, you know what? That was Teemu Solani. I just threw the glove up in the air and shot it out of the air.
That was get the puck behind the net.
In Michigan? Did I Michigan?
Skate all the way up. Skate right. You were like Connor McDavid skating through the Rangers.
Wow, yeah, that's very apropos.
3
can't
are
believe that.
total
Diamond,
up
baby.
to 8 for 10.
8 for 11.
My favorite thing about this is that, Chris Simon played 2 years for the Isles, 1 year for the Rangers, and he almost killed Ryan Holloway in the Isles Rangers game. And I was like, he's not going to get this one. No one's going to get this. It's a good one because he's played a lot of games. He's been around the league. But man,
I would have been
I was
Googling
just out
for
of
3
nowhere.
days to even come up with that guess.
What team do you associated Chris Simon for playing for, though?
he played for the Isles and the Rangers briefly.
I think he's an Avalanche. Like I picture him as an
actually?
Avalanche.
Well,
Like,
he's
yeah.
from
actual-
Nordiques, right?
What's it?
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
He got drafted by the Flyers. Like he was
fuck
kind
the
of all over the
Flyers.
place.
Fuck the Flyers.
Fuck the
He
Flyers.
played the most time in Washington. That was the majority of his career.
Yeah, Washington. good
Man.
call.
Jesus.
Mm.
That was outstanding, Tom. I totally thought we were going to miss this one.
Oh yeah,
no
I thought I had
way.
you.
Why
Unreal.
it's always when you get those friggin' Islander Rangers, man. There's so many like of the
lot
smaller
of guys.
guys
Yeah.
that played. Whew. All right, let's go this date in Steve's stomach.
Oh, that feels better.
Brought to you by Coca-Cola Zero Sugar.
Right here, we're saving calories. Round here, we all look so lean. Round here, we enjoy Coke Zero, but sacrifice flavor, no. Round here, Coke Zero's the way to go.
This one's going to bring us to the year of our Lord 2013. Please go to January 23rd. January 23rd, 2013. 13.
January 23rd was a Wednesday. I only had grapes for lunch.
The whole day?
I'm sorry, for breakfast.
That's what I thought, too.
Grapes for breakfast. Leftover stuffing for lunch.
Were you sick?
And a can of
Leftover
Coke.
stuffing.
Did 30 minutes on the elliptical and followed that up with a little breakfast for dinner. Ham and eggs, toast, and a can of Coke.
Man, how about a pumpernickel bagel for dinner? How amazing
that would
would
have
that have
been-
been for episode 100? Woo!
Oh, that would have been nice.
This was, just so we're all clear, this is pre-Coke Zero too.
Oh, of course.
Okay. Okay.
I just got a quick question. I don't know anybody who ever has stuffing outside of like Thanksgiving and Christmas, maybe. Like, was it leftover frozen
some
from
reason,
then? Like,
Well, we have it on
Um,
occasion. Like we have like baked chicken or something like that.
really?
We'll do a little stovetop.
Okay. All right.
Little
Yeah, this
stovetop.
I acknowledge
But-
this could be a world that I'm just not.
But
That-
at the end of January, leftover stuffing? No. Well, no. Guy probably friggin' drinks the milk before he eats the cereal.
Yeah, I don't know why. At one point, Tina must have roasted a turkey.
You
But
probably
didn't
got
have
like a
that for
free
dinner?
one.
Yeah. You didn't have
You
that for
probably got
dinner
free-
like a couple days before?
Or it was like, hey, this is all we got in the fridge, or nothing there, and just
Right.
got stuffing.
We're gonna clean out the cupboard tonight, honey.
She roasted a turkey on the Sunday prior,
Yeah. So
and
it's
that's
probably
why we
leftovers.
had leftovers.
That's probably
All right. Good enough.
Why did you pick January 23rd, 2013 in honor of this 100th episode?
Obviously, because that was the day that Florida man
Oh, boy.
Ah, Florida. Back to Florida.
Gregory Matthew Bruni, 3 names.
Bruni!
He's all fucked up.
It's not good. It's not good.
I'm sorry. Discovered carnival worker Gregory Matthew Bruni.
there you go.
Carney.
Say
oh,
no more.
Jesus.
Yes.
Florida Carney.
Naked on their
Mhm.
roof. What Tony and LaDonna Land discovered this gentleman naked on their roof just as the night began. He then allegedly assaulted Tony, trashed the couple's North Fort Myers home, and then defecated and masturbated inside their house. How
At the same time?
sick and freaking twisted do you have to be to go
To pick
naked
stories
on
like
someone's roof
this.
and then go into their house and just do that?
Well, as soon as you said Florida man and carnival worker, all bets were off. I mean,
That-
there's
it
literally
could've
nothing
gone
you could have
anyway.
told me that
Yes,
was gonna surprise
actually,
me.
the rest of the story is too tame for those two words put together.
So the Lands say that Bruni ran into the house, pulled a big screen TV off the wall. This is 2013. This
Oh.
is a heavy TV. we're
Yeah.
So these are
talking
heavy
about.
TVs. Okay. Okay.
And spilled the contents of the vacuum on the floor. Around this time, LaDonna grabbed a gun and began firing at the nude intruder. She missed, and the couple called 911. I don't know who the hell he is. He's naked. He ran into my damn house. Tony can be heard saying on the recording.
If you're wondering out there why Tom is going on and on about this story, this is his normal bit. We've had to endure 99 other times and ends the show this way. So
Please,
Just to catch
please
you up.
tell me we have
So the
the
Lands
911
told
recording.
authorities that after the shots were fired, Bruni began, and this is what it says in the article, whacking the mole in their living room. I'm going to call it for that from now on. Stop whacking the mole. Before heading into their son's, whacking the mole? Is that pooping?
I don't know. You tell
No.
us.
No, because the next
No.
sentence says, before heading to their son's room to rub some clothes on his face.
Yeah.
Oh my God. When
What
deputies
did you-
arrived to attempt to control Bruni, who they said was wildly flailing around and speaking nonsensically, they also discovered that Bruni had defecated on the floor in 2 spots within the home. Well, maybe whacking the ball was masturbating. It's got to be.
I
right?
think so.
I hope
At
he did
some-
it on tile so it was easy to
At
clean
some
up.
point during the ruckus,
There's a shag rug.
Can you describe the ruckus?
thank you for that. Investigators say Bruni sucked up the contents of the vacuum he spilled out. Listen, this guy is such a nice guy that when he knocked over the vacuum,
Oh my
he
God.
made a little mess on the floor, so he used the vacuum to suck it up.
Next week's
Oh.
trivia question is, what drugs was this guy on?
Let's see. Bruni was
It's
taken
not-
into custody,
Gotta be meth.
transported to a hospital for evaluation, where doctors reportedly told deputies they plan to conduct tests to determine what Bruni was on. That's the name of the game right there. What was Bruni on? Bruni's
I
been charged
want
with-
to avoid that combination.
Yeah, Bruni has been charged with criminal mischief, battery, occupied burglary, and resisting arrest without violence. So they have a recap
Oh,
of
thank
the
God.
allegations against Bruni. Got naked, climbed on the Land's roof, attacked Tony Land by jumping on him and hitting his shoulder, ran into the Land's house, knocked down a TV, and spilled the contents of the vacuum on the floor. Dodged bullets fired at him by LaDonna Land, masturbated in the living room, rubbed clothes on his face in the Land's son's room, and defecated on the floor in 2 places. Oh, I'm sorry, drank the contents of the vacuum. Did it say
Sure.
drank?
No, you probably put it in a
Drink.
blender. Yeah, because
Did
you
it say
don't just.
drank? Come on.
What the hell are they vacuuming? Was it a wet dry vac?
At some point during the ruckus, investigators say Bruni sucked up. I thought he sucked it up with the vacuum.
No.
Right?
Even I knew it wasn't in the vacuum. You're not going to dump the contents and then vacuum it back up. That's just stupid.
Oh my God in heaven.
I'm sorry, but he got charged for avoiding the bullets?
Something like that. There he is.
Yeah, no,
There he is.
Oh.
There is Carney worker.
that's
Was it Gregory Matthew Bruni?
that's
there
A
meth.
bit younger than I expected.
That's definitely
Yeah,
meth.
I was taken back by how young he was as well, Bill. But whoo, that must have been some good stuff he was on.
Thank-
Tom's a creep. Tom is a weirdo. Where does he come up with the shit? It's so disgusting.
Thank God he left. John BUCCIGROSS left before we got to this.
Well, did he
Holy
cover
Holy
what?
Shit!
I think Butchie would have had fun with that piece. I'm saying.
Wow.
Just throwing that
I
out
hope he
there.
doesn't. I hope he doesn't think to himself on Wednesday. Hey, I want to hear how I sounded on that podcast.
I
Nah, he's
wonder
gonna
what-
do like I do. He doesn't
I
listen
wonder
to
what the
himself.
boys were talking about after I left.
Yeah,
I
I
hope
want to
he
just
hears a
listen a little
song at
more
least.
because I know they're going to brag about how great I was on the show.
He was awesome.
Oh,
He was. He was
Wasn't he
fucking
awesome?
phenomenal.
Yeah, he did a great job. Honestly,
I think we
mean,
could
actually-
officially
Go ahead, Billy.
we could officially offer him fifth mic, right? I
Yeah,
don't see a problem.
absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
we're
It's
agreed.
it's a weekly spot. We might
Not to make it like a Geico commercial, but it would be like when Slash auditioned for that high school band.
You know, I know it's like his job is to like know everything about hockey, but man,
Holy
I was
Yeah.
afraid that our questions about our teams would be too kind of, specific to our stuff. But man,
Right, because he's
named
got to know the whole league
everybody.
like that.
Yeah, I was so impressed by that. That because you know how it is, guys. It's like there's a lot of information out there, a lot of teams,
Yeah.
So it was
I
good.
don't know. It sounds
Really
to me
good.
like Barzell is all about the show. I'm just saying. It's all about him. I don't know if you want that guy on your team there, Nick.
Just I am going to tweet out a picture of our special guest, John McEnroe. That's what I'm
That
gonna
was the
do.
greatest. That was the absolute greatest. That was unbelievable.
So good.
All right.
The greatest is that he saved the Penguins from the fucking roasting that I was going to give them.
Oh
this
man,
week.
did he ever?
Holy
Did he ever?
Shit.
Bill, there's always episode 101, pal. We got another time.
I'm gonna have to. That's gonna hurt. I'm holding that in a hurt for a week.
All right, that's going to do it for us for episode 100. Don't forget to follow us on the Twitter at friends_rivals. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Oh boy, because we will read them on the air if you want us to. While you're on the Apple Podcast or wherever you get your podcast, don't forget to turn on notifications for the Friends and Rivals podcast so you never miss an episode. Billy, say something witty, pal.
Well, we didn't actually get to mention the passing of the Golden Jet, Bobby Hull, which happened and at age 84. And I was just thinking about, my thoughts go out to his son, Brett Hull. And but I'm sure, in his grief, Adam Oates will assist him.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, I get it. Sing us out.
Oh, my friends and rivals. Flyers fuck, flyers fuck, flyers fuck off. Flyers fuck, flyers fuck, flyers fuck off.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought the other thing you meant to say. I thought the other one. I'm an idiot.
God, Jesus. See, fucking BUCCIGROSS leaves and it just fucking falls apart.
Falls apart. You cut us all out.
And now it's time for trivia. Oh, damn it. I do that all the Why do I do that all the time?
You suck. And what? We've been only doing this 100 episodes. Jesus Christ.